You have been manipulated today. Not maybe, not possibly, today. By someone who smiled at you, agreed with you, or made you feel uniquely understood. And you felt nothing. No alarm, no suspicion, just warmth, which is exactly what they intended. This is the uncomfortable truth about dark psychology. It does not announce itself. It does not come wearing a mask. It comes wearing your language, your values, and your blind spots. The most skilled psychological operators in your life are invisible to you precisely because they have studied you. They know what you need to hear. They know when to give it. And they know that the moment you feel seen, truly seen, your defenses collapse like a wall made of sand. Most people spend their lives searching for the source of their anxiety, their self-doubt, their chronic sense of being slightly off balance. They blame themselves. They go to therapy. They read books about confidence. What they never consider is that the instability has an architect. There is a specific set of behavioral signatures, 7 of them, that appear in every sophisticated dark psychology operator, whether they are a colleague, a partner, a friend, or a leader. These signs are not dramatic. They are quiet, surgical, and once you see them, you will realize they have been present for a long time. To understand how dark psychology operates on you, you first need to understand what it is targeting. Not your weakness, not your stupidity, your need. Every human being carries a hierarchy of psychological needs: the need to be understood, to belong, to matter, to be safe. These are not flaws, they are the architecture of being human, but they are also doors, and a skilled operator does not break down your door, they are given a key. Machiavelli understood this 4 centuries before modern psychology had a name for it. In The Prince, he wrote that men are driven more by the fear of loss than the desire for gain. He was describing what neuroscience now confirms: the brain weights a potential loss nearly twice as heavily as an equivalent gain. Dark psychology does not seduce you with what you could have. It quietly, persistently threatens what you already believe you possess: your status, your relationships, your self-image. It creates the wound, then offers the bandage. But Machiavelli only mapped the political surface. Carl Jung went deeper. Jung identified what he called the psychological shadow, the parts of ourselves we refuse to see. Our hunger for approval, our terror of abandonment, our suppressed rage. He warned that whatever we repress does not disappear, it goes underground and waits. And the dark psychology operator is, consciously or not, a shadow hunter. They find the thing you have buried, the need you have never spoken aloud, the fear you have never spoken aloud, and they position themselves as the only person who truly understands it. This is why their manipulation feels like intimacy. It is built from the raw material of your own interior world, reflected back at you with surgical precision. Think of iron and fire. Raw iron is rigid, immovable, but subjected to enough heat applied to exactly the right point, and it bends. Dark psychology is the application of psychological heat to your specific pressure point, not a general assault, a targeted one, which is why it works on intelligent people, on strong people. Strength without self-knowledge is just a bigger target. The mechanism is called instrumental exploitation, using a person's core psychological drivers as levers, not forcing behavior, engineering it, making you believe that every move you make is your own free choice, when in reality, the conditions for that choice were carefully constructed long before you arrived at it. A set of 7 behavioral signs betray this process in action. Each one is a different application of the same instrument. Learn to read them, and you are no longer iron waiting for the flame. You become the one who controls the temperature. In 1971, psychologist Robert Cialdini began studying the most effective compliance professionals in the world: salespeople, negotiators, recruiters. What he found was not aggression, not pressure. It was architecture.
The most effective operators never asked what they wanted directly. They built a psychological environment in which the target arrived at the desired conclusion, believing it was their own idea. The manipulation was invisible because it was structural. This is the operating principle behind every one of the 7 signs you are about to recognize. Sign 1. They make you feel uniquely understood. Most people go through life feeling fundamentally unseen. A dark psychology operator exploits this starvation. They listen with unusual intensity early in the relationship. They remember details. They reflect your own words back to you. In a workplace context, this looks like the colleague who always seems to get you, who validates your frustrations with management, who positions themselves as your only true ally in the room. What they are doing is called mirroring with intent. They are not connecting with you, they are mapping you, building a profile of your needs so they can become indispensable to them. Most people feel flattered by this attention. The strategist asks, what does this person want from what they are learning about me? Sign 2. They create doubt about your own perception. This is gaslighting in its professional form, and it is epidemic in workplace hierarchies. It sounds like this: I think you're overreacting. That's not how that meeting went. You're being too sensitive about this. Applied consistently, this sign does not make you question an event. It makes you question your instrument of perception, your own judgment. Once your judgment is compromised, you refer it to them for calibration. You have handed over your internal compass. Most people assume gaslighting is dramatic and obvious. The strategist knows it's most effective when delivered calmly, with apparent concern for your well-being. Sign 3. They manufacture obligation. In a professional environment, this is perhaps the most common and most invisible sign. It begins with unsolicited favors. The colleague who covers for you once, helps you with a project unrequested, speaks well of you to leadership without being asked. Each act creates an invisible debt, and debt in human psychology is one of the most powerful behavioral drivers in existence. Cialdini called it reciprocity, the compulsion to return what we have been given. The operator does not call in the debt immediately. They let it accumulate. Then, when they need something that you would otherwise refuse, the debt is the lever. Every unsolicited favor is a future invoice. Most people receive unsolicited help and feel grateful. The strategist receives it and asks, what is the expected return on this investment? Sign 4. They control information asymmetry. In any organization, knowledge is currency. The dark psychology operator positions themselves at the center of information flow, knowing things before others, controlling what gets shared and what gets withheld, being the node through which communication must pass. They are not necessarily the most powerful person in the room, they are the most informed, and they use that asymmetry to make others dependent on their access. Sign 5. They escalate your emotional investment gradually. Sign 6. They isolate you from alternative perspectives. Sign 7. They reward compliance and punish independence, subtly, plausibly, deniably. A slow zoom out from a single desk to reveal an entire office floor, one person at the center of every visible interaction. Each of these signs shares one architecture. They do not take from you directly, they restructure the environment until giving is the only option that feels available. You are not forced, you are funneled. The workplace is the most fertile ground for this because the power dynamics are real, the stakes are high, and the social norms demand that you remain polite, professional, and grateful while it happens. The strategic upgrade is map the information. Who benefits from your doubt? Who positioned themselves as your only ally? Who gave you something before you needed it? Follow the architecture back to the architect. A single figure standing at a window, city below, still, sovereign. We promised you an engine, not just the signs, the mechanism underneath all 7 of them. Here it is. Every dark psychology operator, regardless of their specific tactic, regardless of whether they are conscious of what they are doing or simply instinctively skilled at it, is exploiting one single psychological reality: the gap between who you believe yourself to be and who you actually are in moments of need. That gap is where they live. That gap is their territory. The manufactured understanding, the engineered doubt, the unsolicited favor, the controlled information, the gradual emotional escalation, the isolation, the subtle punishment of your independence. Every one of these signs is a tool for widening that gap, for making you more dependent on their version of you than on your own. This is why self-knowledge is not a philosophical luxury, it is a security system. The person who has mapped their own needs, their own fears, their own hunger for approval, that person has no gap for the operator to inhabit. You cannot be mirrored into compliance if you already know your own reflection. You cannot be made to doubt your perception if you have tested and trusted it. You cannot be manufactured